Hello, good evening. Welcome to the weekly process. We are processing life one week at a time. My name is Donna. I'm a therapist and a writer, and tonight we are going to write out the Sunday blues. That's our focus for this evening, the Sunday blues, and that feeling that we can get on Sundays. So, before we start writing, what I thought we could do is just plot how we feel right now. So, if you get a paper and then draw a circle and then make that a quadrant by doing a line from top to bottom and a line from left to right. At the top, you want to put either alert or hyper, and then at the bottom, flat feeling. Then from left to right, I put pleasant on the left-hand side and unpleasant on the right-hand side. You could switch them round, but that's just the way that I do it. So from what you want to do, start off is going from bottom to top and just try and pitch on that line there whether you feel activated right now or more kind of flat. And put a mark on that line for where you feel you are right now and whether that feeling is sort of more pleasant or unpleasant. So the one is how you feel now, the two is how you feel afterwards. So you're just going to put a one for how you feel right now. And then we're going to re-rate that afterwards. So left to right is how you feel right now and whether you feel kind of activated or flat. So what are the Sunday blues? Well, if you think about how you feel on Fridays, and if you don't have a Monday to Friday pattern, then it's how you feel on that day when you know you've got a couple of days off work. And if you think about that feeling, we've got an activated feeling where we're activated in anticipation of hopefully a good weekend or at least a couple of days off work. So we're looking forward, and our system is kind of activated in a pleasant way. And that can be excitement depending on what you've got going on that weekend. We're looking forward. That adrenaline fueled activation will naturally calm down over the weekend. And when the adrenaline wears off, you will get a natural slump. It's like the sunset to the sunrise of a Friday, if you like, but there will be a natural slump that you will have if you've had a feeling of activation on a Friday. And that's the first thing to say, because often we don't know that we are going to feel that. And when it comes, what can happen is we feel the slump and then our thoughts rush in to fill that feeling with things that we might be unhappy about, worries for the week that's coming up, or things we've been dwelling about on the previous week. And those thoughts can rush into that space where we feel that natural slump, and then it can turn into something else. So I wanted to mention that because if you may know this already, but if you don't know that you're going to get that natural slump when the adrenaline of Friday wears off, then you may not know what that is when it happens. And we can kind of just get a little bit blindsided by it, right? And then the thoughts come in, we start thinking about things we're unhappy about, and then before you know it, kind of spirals downwards. So first thing to do is to accept you've got that normal slump, and then kind of, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong, it's kind of just going with what your body needs at that point. You may want to rest, or you might want to activate yourself by doing something active, maybe even taking a walk to walk off that feeling. But also resting is important too, isn't it? Our thoughts are really important there. So if in that space where we get a slump before the activation starts for the week to come, if the thoughts that rush in there are thoughts about worries about what's to come or dwelling on things you're not happy about, then that can turn into something else, can't it? But that is also kind of a natural feeling, right? You've got Monday coming up, you're going to have thoughts about Monday. There's a natural kind of cycle to that. And so it's just kind of watching for those natural cycles that you've got over the weekend. If you've got a Monday to Friday pattern, if you haven't, then it's over those 2 days that you've got off work. So The thoughts we have about Monday, whether we're looking forward to it or not, that will come in, won't it, when we feel that natural slump and then the rising activation, thinking about the week to come, and those thoughts can give us some grief, can't they, if we don't know what to do about them. So, in the first writing session, we're not processing it yet. All we're doing is we're just going to get all of that out onto the paper. All right, so I'm going to do it as well. So, in this first session, it's 7 minutes long. This is the offload. And what you want to do is just get out onto the paper all the thoughts you might be having about Monday and the week to come, or any of the things that you find that you've been dwelling on this week, things that you feel you can't stop thinking about. Get all of them out onto the paper and just keep writing. You've got 7 minutes. Try and keep going past the point at which you naturally want to come to a stop. Try and use the full 7 minutes. All right, so let's go, and I will see you in 7 minutes. Let's get all these thoughts out. Hello, how did you find that? All right, so before we go into our next writing session, let's just have a check-in. Depending on what you've been writing about there, you may be tense. And it's important really just to have a quick break between the two writing sessions, because the first one is an offload and the second one is a processing session. They are different, but they're both important in their own way. But anyway, before we go into the next processing session, let's just take a moment to pause and breathe. So what we're going to do is take a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. So a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. And another one of those, big breath in, let it out like a big sigh. Trying to release the tension at the same time. One more of those, take a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. Just check for any tension, any clenching anywhere and shake it out. Now, as we go into our processing session, I just want to give you a few notes on how you can process what came up for you. And if you've got your own way of processing, that's fine. Do what works for you. But you can look for things that you're curious about and follow those threads. You could look for any actions that you might want to take from the things that have come up that you've written about there in your offload. Especially notice if there are, in what you've written, if there is anything that you feel that you're avoiding, any actions that you could take but you're finding it hard to take, or you might just be putting them off or avoiding them. Look for those, because they can be clues to what you can do to get out of things, to become unstuck in certain areas. Also look for any thinking loops that you might be caught in, and those are things like worries. So we looked at worry over the past few weeks, and worries are thinking about what might happen, feeling anxious, having more worries about what might happen. So getting out of a worry loop is asking yourself, what can I do about this? And again, it's an action, isn't it? What action can I take? Importantly, what small action can I take? A really small one. Just look for the smallest action to take to get out of a worry loop. If it's the kind of thinking loop where you are feeling stuck or you're dwelling on something from the past, this is notice this kind of thinking loop. This can also be linked to an action that you may not be taking. It also can be that there is unfinished business, that your brain, there's something incomplete. You're asking yourself a question that you can't get an answer to, but you keep going back over and over it. So if you've got those kinds of things in your offloading session, then what you may need to do for that, the action to take for that, is to try and close the circle yourself. And so that is about saying that you can't answer that question because things already happened. You can't change what's happened, but you can create an ending for yourself over that issue. Close that circle for yourself. Give it a temporary ending. So it's looking for what's the unfinished business or the unanswered question. How can I close that circle for myself, create an ending? And also, are there any actions that I can take here? Any small actions? Look for the smallest one and take that. Or if you want to just follow the thread of something that interests you about what you've offloaded, do that. Keep writing. See where it goes, and keep writing past the point again at which you want to naturally stop, because those points are quite important. If you can push through them, try and keep writing for the full 7 minutes. If you really get to the end, what you can do is set intentions for the week to come. All right, so I'll see you on the other side. Hello, welcome back. Okay, how did you find that? Right. There's all sorts of directions we could go in with tonight's writing. I wonder if you felt like the offload and the process had moved you forward in some way from where you started. It would be really interesting to hear how you found that. And if you have any questions about this well, or you want to give me any feedback or let me know how it was for you, please do feel free to email me. It's donna@donnabottomley.com. I wonder if before we end today, if we just go back and plot how we feel now, remembering, of course, that it doesn't have to change, and it's also okay for your mood to be in the dip because it's temporary, right? Emotions will come and go, and they will pass if you let them. So, bearing in mind that wherever you are right now, that is okay. We're honouring that. And so I've got a 1 and 2 here. 1 was where I was, 2 is where I was afterwards, 1 was where I was before, sorry, 2 is where I was afterwards. Where did you put yourself before? Where was your 1? And as you look at it now, how activated do you feel from the bottom to the top? And how pleasant is that feeling? Left to right, from pleasant to unpleasant. Where would you put yourself? And then just put a 2 wherever you would plot that right now. And just take note of the difference there. So is there a bit of a shift in the activation? Maybe you felt calmer as you were writing and you might feel that it's lower down on that one. Maybe it started out feeling, oh, I don't know, worried about Monday, anxious maybe, and as you wrote about that and you felt clear about what you were going to be doing and the actions you were going to be taking, you might feel a little bit less anxious. It can also go the opposite way. That's all right. We're honouring however you feel right now. And that's going to give you a sense of how you feel. And you can put words into these quadrants too to kind of help guide you. But that's where we are for today. So I hope that you found that that was helpful and just gave you a way of offloading the blues or the Sunday night anxiety or whatever it was that you were feeling right now. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can email me. You can also sign up to my newsletter if you want to get the weekly process newsletter, which I send out every Sunday. Or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell icon. You will then be notified when the next live stream will be. If you find this helpful, you can make it a regular offload and processing session. So I hope that you've found that helpful, and I hope that you have a really good week. And maybe I'll see you next Sunday for another weekly process. That's all for today. So I'll see you next Sunday. Bye for now. Bye.